I'm Elle. I'm the Keystone Stitcher. Welcome, or welcome back. We've had a nice bump in subscribers, so if you're a new subscriber, I'd love to know how you found me. If you were sent here from another Flosstuber, let me know so I can thank them. I have a lot to share with you today. I have not four. I have a couple new starts. I have 10 projects here total. I've got some new starts. I've got lots of progress. I mean, lots of different pieces with lots of progress. And I even have a giveaway for you today. So I'm still doing this cleaning out, decluttering. So I thought I'd pass one on to you. So would you like to see some of the stitching? Because I know that's what you're here for. So the first two are projects that I have designated time for. So the first one is my oldest whip. So this is 4 Seasons. Now I always say this is by Soda Stitch. This is what it will look like. But the actual company is, and I don't think I can get this in here. Okay, and there it is. The actual company is called Dome. And but I bought this from the Soda Stitch shop, trying to see what you can see. And I was working on this building here, and I've got that mostly filled in to about there. And I brought a little bit down here and started filling in some of that building. So I will move this over and put a picture in of that section so you can see how much I got done. So this one was at 29.48%, and I am now at 32.22%. So just shy of 1/3 of the way through this. So as I started to say, I bought this from an Etsy shop called Pink Nelly, and they are located in South Korea. They currently do not carry this. I don't know if this is out of print, if it's just hard to come by. I've had a few questions about this, and what I can say is I will link Pink Nelly below, and maybe you can ask them, you know, if they can locate it for you, being that this is a South Korean company and they are located in South Korea. There are areas or places that you can find this, but I don't believe that it's a legit copy, so I won't link to that. This is called 4 Seasons, and yeah, and there's the whole piece right there. So this comes out, and I actually kept up with it this month. Every Wednesday I pulled this out and stitched on it for the Oldest Whip Wednesday. For the monthly totals, I was at 25.87% and I'm at 32.22%. So for the month, that was good. I put in a total, just working on this on Wednesdays, of 5,821 stitches, if you're curious. I don't usually tell you the number of stitches, but I was kind of impressed with that, being that I'm only working on it 1 day a week. Okay, so this next one is Strength. The artwork is by Nicolee Payne. And before I show you my piece, let me back up a little bit here. I feel like I don't know if my phone is shifting, but I just feel like I'm like about to have the top of my head cut off here. Nicolee Payne is an Australian painter. She loves to paint with oils, and she finds inspiration everywhere. She has shared that she found the inspiration for this piece from a, what country? I forget the country, but it was from a photo shoot that was posted on Instagram. So I'm going to put a couple of the pictures in here. I'm going to kind of rotate them through just so you can see her inspiration piece and compare it with what she came up with for the painting. And I think that's kind of cool. So she has shared that this is where she came up with the inspiration. So what did I do with this? Well, I didn't work on this for an actual rotation. What I'm working on this as is football stitching. So here in the US, in September, we start with the NFL football, and so American football. And I enjoy football. But while I enjoy football, I can't just sit and not do something with my hands. And so I figured this has a lot of block stitching. As a matter of fact, where I am now, there is still 41,059 black stitches left. And let me show you, before I show you where I am, hold on here, let me show you this. And I hope you can see this. See all that green? That is all black. That's all 310. So you can see where I am. I filled in. And so I decided that I needed some mindless stitching for football. And I'm going to set this over here, where I can just thread my needle and just go. So the only thing, I had previously been filling in her headscarf, but I didn't touch that. All I did was fill in the black. So I'm going to lower this down, and I'm going to put a picture in above so you can see this section here is where I was working, and I finished that and I came over here. So up above is where it was. Now I gridded, and right there is the end of the page. So it's just about 75 stitches, I think. 65 stitches left in width to reach the edge. So what I do is I simply fill my needle with black, and I just stitch across and I stitch back. It's mindless, it's boring, but because my attention is on the TV, I don't get as bored with this. In one game, which roughly is 3.5 hours, give or take, I can put in about 700 stitches. So just doing the math, I don't watch every game that is on television. Hold this up so you can enjoy it. But I do watch enough that I think I can complete by the end of January, when the regular season is over. I will have completed, I believe, roughly 30,000 stitches. So that's huge. That would really take this to a whole new place. So I have my notes here. On September 15th, when I last recorded, I was at 7.78%. I'm now at 9.69%. And just watching football for the month, I increased the total number of stitches by 3,772 stitches. So that's just football stitching, when I would otherwise be mindlessly staring at a television and going crazy because my hands need something. So those are my two special categories, I should say. I haven't been using a bonus stitch any longer. So my bonus stitch, the way I set that up, was I would take a project and have a goal of how many stitches I wanted to get done in that rotation, divided out by the number of days that I was working on it. And then if I completed that number of stitches for the day, I would pick up something else, a non-full coverage, because I typically stitch full coverage. But I was working 7 to 14 days at a time, block days on one project, and I would get bored. So now that I'm not doing all of that, and I've reduced the number of days, I don't have the desire or the need to have to have to break up that monotony. Okay, so we're going to get into the whips. So the first one is John Lennon, and there we are. So John Lennon is by, I didn't say, I'm not telling you what I've got. Okay, so Four Seasons is stitched on a 16 count Aida that I dyed myself. Strength is stitched on an 18 count very light pewter by Zweigart, and that is charted by UnconventionalXStitch. Okay, John Lennon is on a 18 count Aida by Zweigart. The artwork is by Jim Warren, and it was charted by Heaven Earth Designs. There, now we have all the important information out of the way. So you can see these stitches right here. right in that area is where I picked up. And I was trying to fill in this section here to kind of square off this section. So this is a page and a half, and I've already completed the first page. I'm trying to fill in the second, and I think I still have 2 or 3 more columns of 10 by 10 stitches before that is done. But let me put in a before over my face. And this one I put in, let's see, I went from 6.10% to 6.80%. So not too bad. And that got, I think, 3 days. So I think this is his hair coming in, and then I'll be able to get into his forehead. I won't see his glasses or his eyes, but I'll at least get into, you know, his forehead and some of his hair here soon. So that's John Lennon. So the next one I picked up was my Night Fairy. And so this is what Night Fairy will look like. And I'm stitching this from a paper chart, so I have no clue what my percentage is. But this is the first page, and I still need to finish filling in this wing. Let me bring it in closer so you can see that I still have quite a few missing stitches in there. And this one, while I was stitching on this, it was pretty funny. I was watching Debbie, whose channel is Creatively Yours, and she's doing Night Fairy. But she has a lot more projects than I do, and so she kind of rotates through them. And so she doesn't show the same ones every time. But she showed Night Fairy. And I'm looking at hers and I'm thinking, wait, why does yours look different than mine? And here, when I had picked this up, so I had started and I filled this in the first time. And at some point I filled this in. And there were no missing stitches in here, so then I started working on the moon. And then this time I was really working on filling this in. But I'm looking at hers and I'm thinking, you've got this nice blue showing up there. Here, I had totally missed that. I hadn't finished that. And because there were no other missing stitches in this top portion of her wing, I thought it was done. So thanks, Debbie, because I don't know when I would have picked up that I missed stitching that. So yeah, I'm working on trying to fill in this first page. And so here's where it was before. And this is a 16 count Aida. This is not a Zweigart, and it's stiffer than my Zweigart, but it's starting to soften up a little bit. I kind of regret that I didn't get a Zweigart for that. So my next one is a new start, and this is an advent calendar. It's by Q Patterns by Maria. I'm stitching this on Picture This Plus fabric called Ocean, and I'm really hoping it's going to show up because I noticed it shows up better. Yeah, it's not. The darker the room, the better this shows up. So what I did is I'm working on all the grids. So you can see this is the first day. So there's 4 by 6 columns, and I have finished all of those blocks. Sorry. Yeah, this is one of those ones that looks better in person or in muted light. But I have a lot of light coming in here and it's washing this out. So the only thing I have left to do for now, okay, what I want to do with this is in the month of December, I want to do 1 block. So fill in the animals for each day. So on the first I'll do that one, on the second I'll do that one, and so on. So there's a row of trees up here, and then there's 2 large snowflakes on either end with the word Merry Christmas in there. So I need to still finish that in order to have that done. Oh, and there are little pale blue stitches around the snowflakes in the centers that I didn't get to. But I did get all that gridding in, all the blocks. So that is my advent calendar. The next one is a favorite of a lot of you, and that is Grackles. And I'm now I was at 7.56%, I'm now at 8.59%. And there's Grackles. So this bird we've named Billy. And Billy has a few tail feathers here to go. Let me see if I can put the picture of the before. So you can see that that antler. I was filling in, I had some missing stitches on this side of the antler, and then I came across and filled that in. So I only worked in the top section. This is on an 18 count Aida by Zweigart. And I should probably stop saying Zweigart, because unless I tell you otherwise, all my fabrics are by Zweigart. And let me bring in closer so you can see his face. I absolutely love this. The artwork is by Omar Rayyan, and I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to show you guys. And it's charted by Heaven Earth Designs. And I think I can see some of the lines here, but I think once I wash that, I haven't, as I moved over, I don't see it as much, but my tension might have been off there. But hopefully when I wash and stretch it, it'll be fine. And I think when you move back further, you don't really see it. So I can't wait to keep going on this. This is my largest piece. Okay, so the next one is Masquerade. And Masquerade has suffered greatly. So I started Masquerade first, working the entire piece. So this is what it did look like. This is with the background. And I loved the dark. It looked like old paper that's been crumpled and, you know, and worn, and I love the pentagram, and so I really debated, because I also love this version, which is background removed on blue fabric. And I struggled to decide which one I wanted to do more. And I decided at first that I wanted the background. But then I realized I had a page done, excuse me, and I was just moving on, and I realized I wanted this done, and if I took the background off, it would save 100,000 stitches. Since then, I've struggled with this. I need to get further into it, because I'm not used to stitching without background. And so you're having to count across and make sure you don't carry, and it's a different feeling than working full coverage. So this month I picked it up, this last 2 weeks, I picked it up one day when I got a phone call saying, hey, your grandson wants to know if he could spend the night with you. Yeah. So I put it away. The next time I picked it up, my mind started going to, I have a piece I should finish. And so I put it down and tried to finish this next, which I'll show you next. So this is Masquerade. That's all the further. So I was at 2.27%. I'm at 2.69%. So yeah, didn't get very far. So I was filling in some of the missing stitches over in here. So those ninja stitches. And of course that means you don't see much. So then I came over here and started adding in some more of the creams for the moon, because I wanted to see progress. So there's still a lot to fill in, you know, like through here, there's some more pieces. But yeah, this is extremely, I don't know yet that I would call it confetti, but you're constantly changing colors. So it's not one stitch, but you're not going very far with your thread either. But that's what that's going to look like if I can ever get myself in gear. Now this will come back out, so you will see this again soon. But the next one is the one I thought I could finish. And this is the one that I kind of haven't finished. So this is October by Paula Vaughan. And I don't even really need, well, there's a picture, but so that's what it would look like if it were on white. I put it on 18 count Barnwood by Picture This Plus. And you may be saying, what do you have left to do? Backstitch. So I only have, I should have got my board out. I have some back stitching, so you can see well, yeah. So I did some back stitch here to show the folds in the quilt, and I have some more here to do here, and then I have to outline this bottom red, which is the binding, And, but yeah, it was 2 in the morning and I said, yeah, I'm tired. So this is where it was last time you saw it. Let's see, I think I can put it next to it. How about if I do it this way? Okay, so there you go. And so yeah, I did all but that. I did most of the back stitch last night. I got those stairs done. I got the bowl with the apples done. I got the extra apple that's sitting on the quilt done. I outlined, I do need the board. So I brought down and I outlined the outside of the quilt. I outlined the rest of the newel post here and around the rest of the rail. But yeah, just could not get the rest of that quilt done. And this wants to flop. There we go. So there. Next time you see this, it will be in a frame. So I'm really looking forward to that. I don't know if that will be tonight. I have plans of going out here in a little bit, or if this will be tomorrow. But within 24 hours of you seeing this video, this will be done and framed. So that leaves us simply now with, let me see the time. Yeah, we're doing okay. So that leaves me with, what did I then start? So I asked you, I had 2 projects that I pulled. And I was feeling a new start. And I asked you, should I do Reindeer Feed Sack by Caritas Samplings? Or should I do Beetle Pop by UnconventionalXStitch? And I was really surprised. You guys are impressive. So it started off that everybody wanted to see Reindeer Feed Sack. And all of a sudden there was a vote for Beetle Pop. And a couple more for Feed Sack. And in the end, Feed Sack lost. So you guys like the strange and unusual as much as I do, which is probably why you are still here. So I started working on Beetle Pop. And you can see I didn't get very far. I messed this fabric up big time. So, as I mentioned before, I painted this fabric. Now, when I paint fabric, I start with a cup, cup and a half, maybe even 2 cups, depending on the size fabric, of water. And then here's the paint that I use. So this is by Tulip. It's called a soft matte. And it's just called yellow. And then I will squirt some of this into the water and dissolve it in the water. And if you just put a little bit in, it's going to dilute the saturation of color. So the color will be lighter. And so I kept adding paint until I thought that I had the right color, the right amount of saturation. And then I painted it. Now when you paint fabric, you need to have cloth underneath it, because with the water, you're going to paint everything that's underneath. So I have a canvas drop cloth that I double over, and then I'll sometimes even pull out, I have a storage tote with a large plastic lid, and I'll sometimes pull that out and put a towel or the drop cloth on that. So should the water go through the fabric that I'm putting this on, it's not going to stain my tables or anything like that. And then I always do this in a container that has a lid, because you're going to want your fabric to dry as you're painting it. And you can paint it with whatever. I mean, craft brush, sponge brush. I've never really used a sponge brush, but it would work. You could even use a basting brush. I then paint the whole thing, saturate as much as I can, cap up my container so it doesn't dry out, and then wait for this to dry, and then come back and add another coat, because your diluted paint is going to go through the fabric, and you're going to have areas that don't take the stain. So you can see, like over here, you know, it's not really painted very well, which is fine because it will be covered. Now I've done this multiple times with 14 count and 16 count fabric. This is a 20 count. And when I did that, so I don't know if I ended up putting too much paint in. It was still pretty watery, or if it's just because it's a 20 count. But I plugged up the holes after putting several coats on my fabric. And I didn't think until last night when I was pulling things out and making sure I had everything to show you that I should have been using a sharp needle, because I'm having to come up from the back and poke through the paint. And it's really hurting my fingers. But what I did is I purchased 2 bottles of red. There's 3 different colors. Red has a lemon yellow, a golden yellow, and a neon yellow. And I'm going to try to dye a piece of fabric and see if I can get this intensity. If I can, then I will restart this. And if I can't, I will switch from my tapestry needle to a sharp and see if that works. But yeah, doing this here, that made my fingers extremely tired and sore. So I did 0.71, so 0.71%. This has a total of, I think, 58,000 stitches in it. So if I do have to work slower on this because I'm piercing through the paint, that's no big deal. It'll take a little bit longer to do, but it won't, it's not like it has 200,000 stitches. But you know what? The voting was so close between Feed Sack and Beetle Pop, and I was bummed my fingers hurt that I started Feed Sack. So there's Feed Sack. And this is on an 18 count Picture This Plus fabric called Haunted. And I'm using the called for DMC colors. So it's 3866 and 3777. Right here, this red line is the bottom of the top half. So you see I'm now working on the bottom, and that's how big it'll be. A few things about this design. I think there's a typo. So there are 31 stitches to this outer red, 31 stitches here, 31 stitches on the outer part of this red, and this top one has 32. So there is 1 extra stitch right there. And I just was stitching it because I figured, let me fold this up. I figured no big deal, right? Now, these things that stick out on the sides really bother me because, so there are 30 stitches here. There's 16 below where this starts, and there are 13 above, not centered. Over here, there are 17 below where this starts and 12 above. So it's not only not centered, but one is a stitch higher than the other. And that's the way it's charted. I wish I would have not done it the way it was charted, because I can see that it's not even and I can see it's not centered. So yeah, this should have been dropped down. For me, this should have been dropped down 1 more stitch, and this should have come down 2. But that's Reindeer Feed Sack. So now that you've seen what it looks like on different fabric, how do I want to do this? I'd love to know your opinion. If you were to stitch this, would you stitch it on the gingham, or would you stitch it on a different fabric? Not necessarily this one, but would you pick a different fabric? So I really like it that way. Now, there was one other thing I wanted to show you. So I have talked in the past about Paula Vaughan and how frustrating reading the chart can be. Now, there are fractional stitches, and this is aida, which does not bother me to pierce the aida. There are plenty of colors where the same symbol is used, but they're slightly different in color. And so like I said, this is my book, and I've been cutting it up. So this is the color key. And you can see there's quite a few colors here. And I'm going to show you this symbol right down here are the full stitches. These ones right here are the quarter stitches. These ones are the half stitches. And these are your back stitch. So let me fold it up here. for these, see this green leaf grass coming up? It's actually a grass, but it's long. So that's backstitched along with some more of that. But I'm going to put in above my head a picture of the chart that shows the backstitch, because I was going to try to show it to you on camera, and I thought, oh, I don't think my camera is that good to pick it up. So you can see it looks like it's outlined in black. All right, so looking at the backstitch, okay, there are multiple black backstitch lines. So the first one is blanc, so white. The next one is 310, black. That's a possibility. The next one, I've got to get my lighting here, is 433, which is a brown, so no. The next one down here is, nope. The next one down here is 500, which is a dark green. That's a possibility. The next one that is black is 844. And I don't think that that looks like 844. That looks more black than it does gray. Then we have come down here, and there's another black one here, which is 938. And again, I don't think that's the right color. And then we have a black backstitch right there, which is 3750, which is a navy blue. So I narrowed it down to it's either 310 or it's 500. Now you see down here, there's instructions, and I'm not going to read all of the instructions, but I'm going to skim through and it will tell you backstitch. This is all your backstitch directions. It says use 500 for the apple leaves and grass. Okay, 500. But then you come down here and it says use 2 strands of 367 for the grass. Okay. Then the next one says use 420 for grass. Then it says use 2 strands for the grass instead of 1 strand. Then it says use 3013 for the long loose stitches. So there are, and I didn't put them in, I didn't like them, but there are these long stitches, and to me it was distracting. So I narrowed it down and I decided that I would use 500 on the long grass pieces that I need to backstitch. But that just goes to show you, this is mental gymnastics. So not only are you trying to figure out which symbol, and I literally would hold this up to the chart really close, which is why I've trimmed this, really close to the area that I want to stitch and compare some of these symbols to say, yeah, that's the right tan. No, that's a little too dark of a tan, because the symbols are the same. This is why, oops, sorry, I just showed you the back of another one. This is why I've had to be in the mood for this piece, and why, even though I've been telling you since I think as far back as May, that if I just gave it one day, it would be done. So that is now going to be done, because all I'm doing is backstitch, and I think I have, and of course there are different instructions for doing the backstitch on the quilt, and I have figured that one out. So it's 433 for the outline, which I've done, and the folds, and then all other backstitch. Oh, there was also something else I changed. All other backstitch is going to be in a different color. These here, let's see which one. So the browns, that one there, there's a couple other. The top stitch over that is in white, and I hate white top stitch or back stitch. And so I have decided that I'm going to go ahead and do all of the folds and the movement in the quilt, but I'm not going to stitch on top of these little triangular pieces. I'm just going to leave them. Now, if I were quilting, I would top stitch and lock that into place. But for this, I'm not going to do that. Okay, so before we get into plans, I've got a giveaway. And this is a full coverage. This is by Mystic Stitch. They're no longer in business. I bought this quite a while ago. I bought this from 123 Stitch. And then when I realized Mystic Stitch had PDFs, I tried to find this in a PDF and they didn't carry it. This was perfect and I knew exactly where I wanted to hang this in my house. But now that I've moved, I don't have a place I would really want to hang this. So let me bring this in close. I've never used this. There are no markings on this. You cannot get this as a PDF. So if you would like to stitch this, use the keyword red and I will get this out. And it shouldn't cost too much. I will ship this anywhere. There's not a lot of confetti that I can see. And I will show you just a little bit. I mean, you can see when you get into that roof, it is solid. So if you are not sure about it, you know, this roof, that is all solid. Yeah, I think this would be doable. I mean, I love my pattern keeper now, but this would still be doable if you wanted to work from a paper chart. So this is Red Christmas House. If you would like to stitch it, say red, and I will ship this to anywhere. All right, so plans. I don't have anything set by date. I'm still doing the stitch what you want when you want. I do have a couple things. I want to work on. Jessie Marie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff is doing a hashtag Friday the 13th sale on Instagram. And if I remember that it's the 13th, which I a lot of times lose track of days, I will probably stitch on Beetle Pop for that day. If it's not Beetle Pop, it will be Masquerade because, you know, dark stitching, Halloween stitching, I think Masquerade and Beetle Pop would both be perfect. But it might be Beetle Pop because, you know, whenever I have a new start, I want to get a chunk in so that I feel it's actually been started. I don't have much to do, so I will probably pick that up at some point. And okay, so I'm going to repeat because my phone just shut off and restarted itself. So I'm not sure what it lost, but I was talking about plans and so I think that you heard I was going to do Friday the 13th. The Friday the 13th sale, I'll put it here on the screen. I would like to put some more time in on feed sack. I need to work on my Weaver's Tapestry. That's this piece. My sal that I'm doing with Anna. And her information will be down below. I'm going to dye that fabric and compare as to which one I want to continue Beetle Pop on. And so I will show you the fabric. Regardless of which one I stitch on, I'll show you what I came up with the dye. I will finish October. That will be either tonight or tomorrow. That needs to be done. And I have a frame here. It's all set. It's all ready to go. I will continue my football stitching. I will continue my oldest whip, which is the 4 Seasons. And after that, yeah, maybe some more on the advent calendar. And then I will just pull out whatever. So those will be thrown in here and there throughout the month. I can tell you Beetle Pop will probably come out for the 13th. And I can't imagine anything more fun to work on around Halloween than Beetle Pop. So you'll probably see that a couple of times. What I'm going to work on tomorrow, what I'm going to work on the rest of the week, I honestly don't know yet. So it'll be as much of a surprise for you as it is for me. And with that, I think that's everything. So remember, keyword is red if you're interested in that chart. Don't forget, let me know. I'm really curious. Would you stitch feed sack on the gingham or would you pick a different fabric? And if you have it in mind, let me know what color fabric you would actually stitch it on if you would stitch it on something different. And with that, I'm going to say have a wonderful day. Enjoy these next 2 weeks and I will see you again on October 15th. Bye.